Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and welcome aboard the Eastern Express. In this episode, we're covering Indian politics, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi's anticipated landslide victory has hit a bit of a snag. Modi, the man who can fill a stadium faster than a Beyonce concert, was expecting a super majority, but it turns out the Indian electorate had other plans. But first, let's set the stage. India, the world's largest democracy, has just concluded its gargantuan general election. We're talking about over 640 million votes cast, millions of polling booths, and an electoral process spread over several weeks. It's like the Olympics of voting minus the fun outfits and the torch relays. So, without further ado, let's see our latest report to find out more.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has claimed a historic third term in office, but the 2024 Lok Sabha general election results have marked a shift in India's political landscape. The Bharatiya Janata Party, led by Prime Minister Modi, faced a humbling verdict as it fell short of an outright majority.
Today's victory is the victory of the world's largest democracy. This is a victory of unwavering faith in the Constitution of India. Despite their unity, our opponents could not secure as many seats as the BJP did alone in this election.
But the election results have come as a surprise to many, considering the BJP's landslide victories in the previous two elections. The party won 240 seats on its own, which is 32 seats short of the halfway mark in the 543-member lower house. The BJP-led NDA coalition secured 294 seats, falling short of the 400-seat target set by Modi. The results have stirred the political pot, with the BJP starring as a diminished strength in the House and relying on its allies more than ever.
The country has unanimously and clearly stated, we do not want Mr. Narendra Modi and Mr. Amit Shah to be involved in the running of this country. We do not like the way they have run this country.
The results reflect the Indian public's mixed reactions to the BJP's governance, with issues such as rising prices, unemployment and controversial reforms influencing voter sentiment. Modi's campaign, which began with a focus on social welfare and economic development, gradually took on more nationalistic tone, which may have affected the party's overall appeal.
And now let's take a look at the issue in greater detail. So, here's what happened. As the vote counting began, early results suggested that Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, I'll definitely just call it BJP from now on, they're likely to fall short of the outright majority they were so confidently aiming for. Before the count, the BJP was hoping to secure a supermajority of 400 seats in the 543-seat Indian parliament, which would have given them the power to change the constitution. But as the numbers rolled in, it became clear that an alliance of opposition parties performed better than many analysts expected. Modi, never one to shy away from a bold statement, claimed a historic victory on X, even as election authorities continued to tally the votes. It's like declaring yourself the winner of a marathon at the halfway point. Sure, it's confident, but also a little premature. The results we have seen so far indicate that Modi's BJP may have to lean on its coalition partners to form a government. Now, these partners are a motley crew of right-wing parties from the National Democratic Alliance, which has been Modi's support system since his first election in 2014. Now, about that supermajority. Any hopes for this political unicorn are fading fast. A supermajority would have allowed the BJP to amend the constitution, something opposition leader Rahul Gandhi claims voters decisively rejected. The BJP has repeatedly denied any such plans, but critics worry that such power would give Modi an unstoppable mandate to push his Hindu nationalist agenda, further distancing India from its secular foundations. And speaking of that agenda, Modi's rhetoric during this election has raised eyebrows and concerns. Critics and observers noted his increasingly overt anti-Islamic language, which has made many Indian Muslims nervous about their place in Modi's vision for the country. The economic fallout from this electoral drama has been immediate. As vote counting revealed the shaky ground beneath Modi's expected victory, Indian stocks took a nosedive, marking the worst daily drop since 2020. Investors, it seems, are not fans of uncertainty, especially when it is served with a side of political upheaval. It's a reminder that in democracy, nothing is set in stone until the last vote is counted. In the coming hours, as the full results come in, we'll see whether Modi's confidence was well placed or whether his opponents will be celebrating a moral, if not outright victory. Either way, this election has been a testament to the vibrancy and unpredictability of Indian democracy. And now, here to shed more light on the issue is Major General Shashi Asthana, International Strategic and Military Analyst. Hello, sir, and welcome to Eastern Express.
Thank you. Pleasure speaking to you and your viewers.
So we are currently looking at the Indian elections, and we're seeing some trends that's not as projected. So we're kind of curious, what's the situation going to be like, especially in terms of foreign politics? Are we going to see a less stable situation, or is everything sort of predicted?
Firstly, we are proud of Indian democracy, which is not only the largest, but most stable as well as matured. There is no doubt that it's going to be a stable government and a stable democracy in a manner that the National Democratic Alliance, NDA, which is headed by Prime Minister Modi, that has secured 293 seats, which is well above 272 marks. So therefore, they are in a comfortable position to form the government. As far as the expectations, as you just mentioned, was that it is because the BJP, which is the major portion of the alliance, which has got 240 seats, hasn't got 272 by itself. But that does not make it little lesser stable or otherwise, for the simple reason, because they've got 293 seats, which is about 21 above the halfway mark. So therefore, and there is no other party which has not even more than 13 seats. So there is nobody, even if one odd party is not happy, it doesn't make a difference as far as the stability of the government is concerned. So you are going to see a very stable government for next 5 years. The maturity, and why we say that we are proud of our democracy, because this particular result has been made in a manner that in a strong democracy, you need a strong opposition too. So perhaps this opposition is going to be a little stronger than what was there earlier.
All right, thank you for rounding all of that up. Some very good points you made here about the opposition having a chance is actually a very good sign of a mature and strong democracy, as well as the fact that they still have gotten 293 seats, meaning that they have the majority. However, prior to going into this election, a lot of people were predicting that Modi's BJP party will have a supermajority. Do you think there's a reason why they fall short of the number of seats that they were previously projected to have?
Certainly, the mandate which has been given is not as BJP would have expected, because they were expecting a much higher majority and a majority by crossing halfway mark by itself, which has been the case in last two terms. But let's face facts. The expectations notwithstanding, it's not all that easy in a country like India, which is such a large democracy, to be repeating the government in the third term. This is the first time it is happening after Jawaharlal Nehru. So that is also a record by itself. And in a country which has such vast variations of caste, creed, religion, societal variations, it's not easy to maintain the same level of expectations of positive results every time. So therefore, perhaps there was, from the point of view of the expectations as rolled out by the media earlier, maybe that the BJP is short. But as far as the country is concerned, I think it's a very good result. A good government, a strong government, a strong opposition, and the narrative of the growing India, the India growing and the growth of India will continue. Same is the case as far as the foreign policies are concerned, because during this election, there was hardly any discussion on the foreign policy issues. I think on the foreign policy matters, by and large, everybody was on the same grid. Same is the case with the dealing with our neighbors. As far as wherever a little dissatisfaction has taken place, in terms of the expectations of BJP, it is perhaps in some of the states they haven't got the kind of results which they expected. Perhaps some of their policies did not make a mark in the manner in which they had expected. Perhaps the opposition also could pick up some cases where perhaps the people in those areas saw some point there. Apparently, whatever we may say, the fact is that Prime Minister Modi is the Prime Minister for the third time. The growth agenda, as far as the foreign policy agenda, I don't visualize any change whatsoever. Similarly, many developments initiatives which have been taken, we presume that they are going to continue in the same manner. And I explained you the statistics as to why I say that this is a stable government, and I don't think there is going to be any problem with this government in next 5 years.
Right. Especially very interesting to see, as you mentioned, there's a big variation of this Indian society as well as a very diverse culture. So being able to have this sort of like vibrant and stable democracy is a very rare thing to maneuver. So like you mentioned, when it comes to foreign issues, the Indian parties usually align quite well. So when it comes to the actual policy issues, I would assume that most of it is revolving around domestic. Can you tell us what's the major point or decisive topic of this election cycle?
See, there are certain schemes which, as far as the government is concerned, which they wanted to roll out, or they are going to roll out some of them. I think majority issues, as far as the development is concerned, growth is concerned, infrastructure development is concerned, I think that was very well received by everybody. Where they felt a little short of expectations is that the growth model, maybe perhaps there was some shortcomings in reaching in some areas, and there were certain schemes which didn't seem to be that popular, which perhaps the opposition could cash on, and therefore opposition could grow strength there. But then there are certain other positives also for BJP and the ruling party as well, because they have also made some headway in certain other states where they were not there earlier. Their losses in some of the major states are a little larger, and therefore the numbers have come down. But as far as the overall span and presence of BJP is concerned, perhaps there's not very much of change as far as the state governments are concerned. As and when whether these results will play out in the state elections, that's something which is yet to be seen. But as I visualize, and as I said very clearly, that when it comes to the world, shall I say, how India is dealing with the rest of the world, I don't think there is going to be any change for a very simple reason, because everybody, whether BJP or opposition parties or everybody was quite convinced that whatever our position on various wars which are taking place, whether in Middle East or in Europe, or our position on what our neighbors, whatever we have taken, I don't think there was any discussion or dissatisfaction by anybody or any segment of the society. And therefore, as far as the foreign policy is concerned, I visualize almost the same thing will continue, and even the growth of India is going to continue the same way as it was earlier.
Right, a consistent foreign policy going forward. That is something interesting to hear. I would also like to ask you about some media reports about some, what people might say, anti-Islamic rhetoric of Modi. Do you think that hurt his chances in any way, shape, or form during the election, or was it a little bit overblown?
See, there were, when it comes to, this is something which the foreign media picks up far too much than the local media, and more so in the election campaign, of course, I mean, the various narratives play out. But let me put it in no uncertain terms. The issue of CAA, which you are trying to hint at, was not presented in the manner perhaps appeared that some of the people were not convinced in the manner it has been presented. Otherwise, I don't think there was any danger to any minority or any loss of citizenship to anybody else. Now, this is one scheme which the opposition did make amount of, shall I say, convincing the minorities, and they did gain some minority votes there. And BJP lost some minority votes there. That's one issue. Similarly, Uniform Civil Code, which is yet to come, perhaps they started talking about it at the wrong time. Maybe that they could have delayed it a little further. The good part which I see is that in Jammu and Kashmir, once the Article 370 was removed, in the present election, this was the first election after Article 370 was removed, and what we found was that the two families which were ruling Jammu and Kashmir and who were opposing the abrogation of Article 370, both the families and their leaders, they lost the election. So therefore, the positive result is that Jammu and Kashmir has accepted the abrogation of Article 370. They have taken part very well in the election, and the growth of Jammu and Kashmir is something which is unprecedented and is coming up very well. So that is one major positive which I find from this election. As far as various communities which you talked about.
All right, thank you so much for helping us understand all this and breaking it all down. I really appreciate it, but that's a lot of input and insight. Right. And thanks for being with us on Eastern Express. I really appreciate it, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you.
And now we're moving on to the Eastern News Flash, a series of all the other stories from the East that you don't want to miss. Despite receiving electricity imports and emergency assistance from European countries, Ukraine's energy system remains under strain due to Russian attacks on its power plants. Ukrainian, the country's electricity transmission system operator, has implemented energy consumption limits across all regions.
This is a new reality for residents of many Ukrainian regions. The main reason is the impact of Russian attacks on Ukrainian power facilities in March this year. The power deficit has escalated slightly due to increased air conditioning usage, cloud cover affecting solar power generation, and reduced electricity imports from EU countries. Ukraine heavily relies on imports and emergency aid from its European neighbors, including Romania, Poland, Hungary, and Moldova. However, the country emphasizes that these measures are insufficient to restore balance to the energy system, given the extent of the damage. DTEK Group, Ukraine's largest electricity producer, reports that the damage caused by Russian missile attacks in March this year was twice as severe as the previous winter. The repair costs amount to $230 million, with critical equipment at 6 major thermal power plants destroyed, resulting in an 80% loss of generation capacity. DTEK aims to restore 5 of these plants before winter, primarily by importing equipment from Eastern European countries.
Ukraine's parliament has passed a landmark law establishing English as the language of international communication. Now, the legislation aims to enhance Ukraine's global connectivity and facilitate cross-border interactions.
The new law received strong backing in the Ukrainian parliament, with 236 lawmakers in support and only 3 voting against the measure. The key provisions of the law include specific government and public sector positions that now require proficiency in English. Additionally, the law establishes protocols for the use of English within government offices, ensuring consistency and clarity in official communication. A recent study by the Kyiv International Institute of Sociology revealed interesting insights. 51% of respondents reported having some knowledge of English. However, only 23% felt confident in reading, writing, and everyday communication. An overwhelming 93% of parents with children under 18 expressed a desire for their children to improve their English skills. While English takes center stage, Polish emerges the second most common foreign language among respondents, with 22% reporting some level of knowledge. German followed with 14%, while the Russian language was notably absent from the survey.
The Georgian opposition has officially signed an agreement with President Zarubishvili. The agreement, known as the Georgian Charter, outlines a plan of action for pro-European forces in response to Russia's recent legislation and the anti-Western shift in the ruling party's policies.
The Georgian Charter was proposed by President Zarubishvili and serves as a roadmap for the opposition. It delineates the main directions for action and commits to pro-European reforms. 17 opposition parties and 5 independent deputies have signed it. Notably, President Zubashvili, although originally affiliated with the ruling Georgian Dream Party, distanced herself from the party due to its handling of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The purpose of the charter is to maintain Georgia's Euro-integration momentum, which began when the country received candidate status in December last year. Despite this milestone, the ruling party failed to address the 9 areas for improvement outlined by the European Commission. Unity and reform are central themes in the Georgian charter. The opposition pledges that if victorious in the upcoming elections, they will form a non-partisan government and promptly implement pro-European reforms.
In a bid to facilitate the repatriation of Ukrainian refugees, the Czech Republic will reimburse travel costs back to their country for 400 of Ukrainians and provide medical transport for up to 30. The project aims to motivate those who wish to return home by providing practical assistance.
Over 4.2 million people fled Ukraine due to Russia's war, and the EU granted them temporary protection. Among them, more than 360,000 Ukrainian refugees currently reside in the Czech Republic. Under the new initiative, Ukrainians residing in Czech Republic with temporary protection status will receive compensation for bus or ambulance transport. The project will be in effect from June until November, covering bus tickets for up 400 people and ambulance transport for another 30. Surveys indicate, however, that the desire among Ukrainian refugees in the Czech Republic to return home is declining due to the ongoing full-scale war. Similar challenges exist in other countries hosting Ukrainian refugees, such as Germany and Poland. Ukraine's demographic situation faces a significant threat, with its population dropping from 41 million in 2021 to around 35 million in 2023 due to residents fleeing abroad.
And that's all on this episode of Eastern Express. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.